Suman is pounding away at her favorite theme, child labor and child trafficking in India. She's here at the University of Alberta talking about specific children that she has been able to rescue, many much after repeated scarring.
And third time again they are being sold. When they have sold third time, this boy Rameshwar was very fed up with the life, the way they were living. And he told his friend, look, I don't want to live like this any longer. When they have sold third time, this boy Rameshwar was very fed up with the life, the way they were living. And he told his friend, look, I don't want to live like this any longer.
She talks about her frustration with the bureaucracy in India, the apathy of the police and other enforcement agencies. The problem, as many India watchers will tell you, may just worsen. 22% of India's people live below poverty line. Almost 90 million people, more than the combined labour force of Britain, France, Italy, are expected to join the workforce by 2013. This will give India the largest national workforce on the planet. Looking at it from a labour market point of view is explosive. If economic growth does not keep pace with agriculture, able to absorb only 15% of the workforce, the influx into the cities is bound to explode. Suman makes a point. Enforcement of minimum wages for rural adults and infrastructure building must hasten to create local opportunity.
Bringing people in the mainstream, you need education. And if you see our education system, it has been deteriorated like anything. We have not been able to educate people, and if we are making reservations, say, for higher education, for services, and people are not educated.
Despite the fact that the government of India has doubled its expenditure on elementary education to $21 million, the system needs to be hauled up. The conversation goes on. Perhaps it will take years to solve these issues. The questions to be asked are, can child labor and child trafficking be seen as isolated problems? Or are they part of a larger, bigger picture, which is the growing divide between urban and rural development in India, and also the growing divide between rural and urban India? Sunita Kaul, Omni News. Jordan Patterson loves his game of tennis, but says there are not enough courts for all those other players out there who would like tennis to be an affordable game. More public courts like this one are needed.
If you come here after 5 o'clock, these courts are going to be busy right until past sunset, because the lights are here. So it's a matter of actually being able to play, getting somewhere to play that's an issue.
The Edmonton Federation of Community Leagues says the problem is lack of funding. Already, many public courts have been converted to parking lots. Others may meet the same fate if funding is not available.
The maintenance and repair cost is too much for the community leagues.
It's cracks like these that Mr. Khan is so worried about.
They don't want to maintain those courts, which may create a liability issue for them because of no fences available around it. Children and people will just come to the courts, and of course, if something happens, then they have to pay for that.
I spoke to the CEO of Tennis Alberta. I was wondering what impact this would have as far as the provincial level goes.
Anytime you have fewer courts available, basically it's going to decrease the pool of participants. You know, it's a grassroots feeder level, and you're basically selecting out people that potentially would be exposed to the sport. So, you know, down the road it would have an impact if this were to continue.
Community leagues will somehow have to find the resources to cater to a growing number of tennis players in Edmonton. Sunita Kaul, Omni News.
And I think right now it's a waste of money.
It would make sense that an election be called when it will serve a purpose. I don't believe it would serve a purpose immediately.
It's hard to say. Maybe not.
From the streets of Edmonton, the one unanimous message to politicians on Parliament Hill: no elections, just work it out somehow. For summer, the threat has faded.
You know what? That's the $50 million question. And of course, so if you are an elected official, you're always on the ready for an election. To give you an idea of our readiness, we're actually having a volunteer training session on Saturday. But we're not doing that because we're waiting for Mr. Ignatieff or Mr. Harper. I believe in being involved closely with my constituency all the time.
Businessmen like Harmeet Kapoor are wary of elections.
We don't know what the next government is going to do and what the policies will be. It takes us more, a government or a minister when they come in, takes us so long to understand the problem. By the time he understands it, it's a minority government and he goes in the election and there comes a new guy and it has to go through all the hoops again, which is not good for our business.
Harmeet says another election means more uncertainty, especially for businesses like his that need specialized employees like cooks. Things like immigration policy are important for him as he has to get his staff from outside the country. But others like Jim Taylor say the economy will not be impacted by a change in government.
I just am not I'm not concerned, and I hope other people aren't concerned with whether we have an election this summer or this fall in Ottawa, because Edmonton is in a lucky and fortunate position not to be affected, I think, very much by what goes on in Ottawa.
The consensus, though, seems to be no elections for the time being. Sunita Kaul, Omni News, Edmonton.
At this point in time, the criminal system would be dealing with the particular ramifications that they'll be facing. At some point in time, I would imagine that there will be some opportunity for these individuals to be part of some sort of restorative process and rehabilitation process.
Juveniles and some barely 19 going through the grind of a criminal system. For the police, the case may be closed, but for the minority communities in Alberta, the message is loud and clear. Out here in Millwood, the general consensus seems to be that this is actually a problem being faced by not just one or a few families, but by a lot of families from the minority community.
I think the main reason for the youth crime is the lack of enough programs and them being successful in the education in the schools. I think if the government would be more involved in the youth programs and help the communities, the local communities, would be much more help for even the youth.
They're just doing that just to fit into the group, and like they kind of just have to do that because like if they don't, then other people just don't think that they're worthy enough.
What group is this?
Like just like any group, like in school, you kind of have to do this stuff to like, I don't know, be cool.
Erin's father says her brother is moving with the so-called in crowds at school.
My son, he is in grade 10 and he's not doing well. That's the reason is because the group, like they isolate from the good kids.
I ask older immigrants like Rima, now well settled in Canada, about the need for the community to do more. Put its act together, reach out especially to newcomers. Sometimes it so happens that new immigrants, they don't have the time. They're juggling 3 jobs. How would you solve a problem like this?
I think maybe getting together with other immigrant families who have been there longer and get some guidance from them and maybe ask, I think more of us should be involved in more of a in the public, forum so that we can give those help to the new immigrant families.
Faisal, the Somali immigrant, sums it up so well.
If they be success in the school, they would have hope and in the future.
Sunita Kaul, Omni News, Edmonton.